Guys, yes, here are your early, not way too early, just early, top 30 fantasy football draft rankings for 2026. This is going to be your first 2 rounds here and a little bit of round 3. Let's kick it off in the C tier here with the positional ones. So everyone in this tier is going to be a wide receiver 1, RB1, possibly the QB1, okay? Just a little bit of a spoiler alert. And anyone in this tier, very good player, strong asset, can go win you a week any given Sunday. I don't have to tell you guys about second round or high-end third round picks. You guys get the idea. Up first, I do have A.J. Brown in this tier. Now, according to Dynasty, still on the Eagles because that is correct. By the way, guys, if you want to make tiers like this, if you want advanced stats, if you want to sync your league and just have it managed to the best possible ability, go join Dynasty, okay? A.J. Brown comes in at 30 overall. You'll see in this tier, we're going to have players ranked from about 30 to 19 in this tier. So if you want to take him in the middle or back half of that second round, be my guest. For me, he's the 30th overall player right now. Within these tiers, you can really organize them however you want, okay? When he goes to the Pats, which is happening in like 10 days from this video, it's the middle of May right now, right? Maybe 14 days, whatever. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 there. I don't know, man. Is Vrabel really going to get this guy, assuming he's the coach, going to get this guy 10, 11 targets a game? Remains to be seen. I'm a bit skeptical of May. I really think he was helped by his schedule. So again, I'm low on A.J. Brown. I'm low on him every single year. For those of you guys have been following me for a couple of years, you know the drill. Next up, Derrick Henry's coming in here. Derrick Henry's coming in. Let's swap him over there. All right. Derrick Henry at 29th overall. I'm not taking Derrick Henry before a handful of running backs this year. He's around my RB12, RB13. I get it. He's really good. I understand. I'm not trying to get caught holding that bag with a second round pick. The fact of the matter is, especially in PPR leagues, he does not have RB1 overall ceiling. He does not have it because he doesn't catch passes. He has month-long RB1 overall ceiling, potentially 8-week, 2-month-long RB1 overall ceiling, but those low games because of maybe it's a Lamar injury, or maybe it's just no targets. I believe he caught 15 passes last year, okay? Doesn't cut it, especially in PPR and honestly half PPR. Now in standard, obviously probably a top 20 pick. Let's move on here to Chris Olave, who finished last season as one of the best, if not, maybe the best wide receivers in fantasy football to close the year with Tyler Shook there, the final 7-8 weeks of the season. We have Jordan Tyson joining. Remains to be seen. A lot of injury concerns with Olave. If all goes right, he's going to be a top 10 wide receiver, top 12 wide receiver like we saw him. So, cool. Next up, and I might have to move him up a little bit, but it is Ken Walker. All right. We have Ken Walker here coming in at 27th overall. Might have to move him up. I'm becoming very bullish on Ken Walker here as the Chiefs running back. The only question, of course, is the health. But year after year, we see guys where it's like, oh, if he can just stay healthy, they stay healthy sometimes and just absolutely dominate. So I'm expecting 60, 65, dare I say, suggest 70% of snaps in the Chiefs offense with Andy Reid, with Bieniemy, with Mahomes, with the offense clicking on all 8 cylinders here. And the workhorse, the horsepower is coming from Ken Walker. There's no one else on the depth chart. So I might have to move him up in this tier. We'll maybe do a little bit of reorganizing there at the end. All right, Josh Jacobs is coming in next. Again, can't really go wrong with any of these players here, as I'm sure you're noticing. These are all very good players. You could take these guys in the back half of the second round is how this is going to end up here. Josh Jacobs, again, it's just kind of like a durability thing. He's so good when he's healthy. There's no one else taking touches. But again, can he do it for 17 games now? Past the prime age, technically, I don't know. And then finally, here coming in at 25, before we get into the top 24, I do have Malik Neighbors. And this is a big asterisk, okay? Because right now, Malik Neighbors is not fully healthy. He just had another surgery to clean up stiffness or whatever in the knee. I don't like to hear that, dude. I don't like to hear that at all. Okay? if he was fully healthy. And when he's fully healthy, he's a top 10 overall player, challenging on a per game basis, especially in PPR for wide receiver 1 overall. So if you're going to draft him in the back half of the second, or even the early third, maybe the mid third, at some point it's going to be a value for you. Right now, I cannot put him in the top 2 rounds with the injury stuff. I can't do it because we have guys like, and let's get into our top 24, guys like Josh Allen, who, again, he's my 24th overall player. I'm putting the respect that he deserves here. If you pick Josh Allen, 22nd, 23rd, 24th overall, that is a good pick. Every single year, it's a good pick. He's the clear QB1. He's the clear QB1. There's no debate. There should never be any debate. I don't want to hear Lamar. I don't want to hear Burrow. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear it until he hangs it up. I don't want to hear it. Or as back-to-back seasons outside the top 2 or top 3. So yeah, enough said there. We get DJ Moore. We get Skylar Bell, who knows if either of those guys are going to make a big difference. If they don't, probably going to finish QB1 again. I rarely keep things very simple. As you guys can tell, I tend to overthink things. There's no overthinking that needs to be done here. Next up, we have Nico Collins. I think we're sleeping a little bit on Nico. I'm seeing him go very late in startup drafts, specifically for Dynasty. There he is. I'm seeing him go very late in startup drafts here for Dynasty, and probably going to be pushed into that 3rd round and drafted right around where JSN was drafted last year, in that little turn there. It's a 2-3 turn. I think he should be taken inside the top 2 rounds. I think Stroud had an awful year. Offense was dysfunctional. We add Montgomery. Stroud will bounce back. I really do like Nico Collins, who dealt with his own injuries last year. Now, Jeremiah Love is coming in here. You could have Jeremiah Love, according to my rankings, all the way as low as 30. Or you'll see when this next tier creates, as high as like 19. Right now, I do have him at 22 overall. I like the landing spot. Algier is not, you're not going to, okay, how do I put this? I'm not worried about James Conner, okay? They traded for Algier, then they drafted a running back. So that tells you what they think of Conner, honestly. Algier, you're not going to draft Jeremiah Love. I don't know if I said Jordan Love before. I always do that, but I'm talking about Jeremiah Love, of course. You're not going to draft him 3rd overall and make him essentially the highest paid running back in the league if you are not going to use him. Algier is not much of a pass catcher, so especially in PPR leagues, we're going to be all over this. They're going to be losing games, most likely. Brissett is a capable QB. I like it. I really like it for year 1. Everyone loves to say we did this last year with Genty. Well, you know what else we did? You know what we didn't do? We didn't rank 2018 Saquon Barkley where we should have. Okay? How about that? There are 2 sides to everything. I was very high on Genty last year. Of course I was. A lot of people weren't. I was. Totally wrong. I understand. I don't view this as the same thing. Drake London comes here at 21. I'm basically a Drake London hater. I don't like Michael Penix. I think he's bad. I really do think he's a bad QB. I don't like Tua. I think he's bad. I really do think he's a bad QB. So we'll see with London. I have major concerns. I don't really like London this year, to be honest. And all that said, he's at 21 for me. All right. A guy I'd much rather draft over him, Marion Hampton, with Mike McDaniel as the new OC, an upgraded offensive line, and a healthy one. All right. Herbert, weapons everywhere, primetime games, West Coast. I'm all over Marion Hampton. And to get us out of this tier here as the final guy in this tier, I do have George Pickens. So I'm a bit low on Pickens. I see that. Pickens is my 19th overall player. And here is 19 through 30. Pickens, Hampton, London, Love, Collins, Allen, Neighbors, Jacobs, Walker, Olave, Henry, and Brown. There's your top 30, 19 to 30, I should say. You can order these guys any which way you want. This is going to be your high-end 3rd rounders, low-end 2nd rounders. With Pickens, I don't like that he's disgruntled. I don't like for the back half of the season, like those last 6 games there, he really was not trying. I don't know if you guys remember this dude. I owned him in my most important league, and he was just walking around on the field while Dak Prescott was beaming the ball at his face, and he was just not catching it. It's a real thing. It's very rare you actually see the human qualities in a player come out in a negative way. We saw it last year for Pickens. He's not getting paid. Okay. he did the franchise tag. Lamb's going to be back healthy. I don't love it, dude. If he's my wide receiver 1, I want a straight up another wide receiver in that top of the 3rd round, in Olave and AJ Brown, right? A Neighbors maybe, Nico Collins. I want a guy like that with Pickens. Let's get into this next tier here, the round 1-2 turn. So top half of the 2nd round, going into the 1st round. 2 guys in this tier are technically going to be in the 1st round when it's all said and done and take us into our top 10. I do want to begin it with Trey McBride. I'm a bit low, I guess. I mean, 18th overall, right? So maybe that's not that low in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I got him here at 18th overall. I think Marvin bounces back a fair amount. They have Love now. I really think McBride was just a target hog because it's all Brissett had to work with. Him and Michael Wilson was just a simulator for those guys, losing every single game by so much. And that's probably still going to be the case. Okay, he's a monster. He should be drafted in the top 1.5 rounds. Okay, next up, Chase Brown. Chase Brown is a running back 1 for fantasy football. There's no debate about this. For the past 2 seasons with Joe Burrow, he is averaged as a top 5 running back in games Burrow's healthy, and he has over 55, I believe the number is, % of snaps. It's a handful of games. It's like double digit at least games, okay? We got to stop acting like he's not an RB1. They got no one on the team. I think P. Ryan's still there, especially in PPR. He should be treated as such. Let me get my boy, Rashee Rice. Well, maybe not in real life, but for fantasy purposes, is my boy, okay? Again, very similar to Malik Neighbors. This is a wide receiver 1 overall contender when healthy, when playing, when not suspended. The only single concern I have is for the first few weeks of the season, maybe Mahomes needs to ramp up a little bit. He's not suspended in 2026. Rashee Rice. They didn't draft anybody. The enemy's back. What's not to like? Achane comes in next. I'm lower on Achane. I just think it's the worst offense in the NFL, which it is, okay? Well, right now, at least, before anybody plays. I don't like Malik Willis that much, honestly. I think they're going to be losing a ton of games. I worry that McDaniel's not there. I worry about these things with Achane. Next up, we have Ashton Genty. Kind of the opposite, where his situation got so much better, okay? Genty welcomes in Linderbaum from the Ravens, Kubiak, who designed all the runs for Ken Walker, for Charbonnet, won them the Super Bowl. All right, we get Kirk Cousins, we get Mendoza. I'm a big fan of Genty here. The second option in the backfield, according to this running back by committee that apparently Kubiak wants to instill, was Mike Washington from Arkansas, who is a combine monster. Now, who knows? Listen, dude, if Mike Washington's going to get 7 rushes a game, I'm fine with that, honestly, because it means 15 for Genty and 8 targets. Like, I'm cool with that. Let's move on here to James Cook. Believe he's just on an upward trend, James Cook is, in terms of his fantasy finishes. I think he's been like RB10, RB8, and then last year RB6 in his season finishes. Not much is changing. If this guy were to catch a couple more passes, get targeted a couple more times, he really could break fantasy. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it doesn't, he still has that elite rushing upside with the elite scoring upside. Yeah, again, an RB1, putting respect on his name. Now we get into the top 12, technically the round 1. We're still in this B tier here, round 1-2 turn. I do have Brock Bowers. I think Brock Bowers is gonna essentially replicate Trey McBride's season last year and go above and beyond that. Okay? There is so much to love here. In truly healthy games last year, he averaged about 17 fantasy points per game. It was a handful of games, maybe 3 or 4. We know that he dropped 44 points his first game back from injury. Most fantasy points ever scored by a tight end at the time until Kyle Pitts came along like 4 weeks later. Okay? With no QB, with no offensive line. They have no receivers on the team, guys. We saw what Kubiak did with with JSN. I'm not saying JSN and Bowers are the same type of player. I'm not saying they play the same type of position. What I'm saying they do is catch passes in Kubiak's offense. And that is the case. And Bowers can line up literally anywhere. He's a special talent. He could still go on to be the best tight end to ever play this game. I know some of you are fainting, but it is the truth. And finally here, to close this tier out, 11th overall, I do have Saquon Barkley. I'm expecting a very big bounce back for Saquon. a very big, like Jonathan Taylor of last year. That is my pick. That is my scenario here for Saquon, why I'm ranking him 11th overall. There's so much to like. Last year, RB9, so the 9th most opportunities among running backs. Didn't do very well in the points over expected category because the offense had a lot of issues. We get rid of the coordinator. We bring a new one in. We keep Hurts, obviously. We don't bring in any running back competition. The offensive line is still decent. It's a good team, a well-coached team that's going to be ideally, unless it gets worse somehow, scoring a fair amount of touchdowns. We all know what Barkley can do. So don't be surprised if through the first 8 weeks of the season, he's the RB1 overall. That's very realistic. I'm in on Barkley. I did not see the per touch efficiency dropping when you actually look at the data, at the tape. Shout out Dynasty. Let's begin here with our top 10, tier A. And yes, speaking of Jonathan Taylor, he's going to be 10th overall. This is assuming Daniel Jones is playing. Okay? If Daniel Jones is playing, yes, Jonathan Taylor is a clear top 10 player, as tier A would indicate. Can absolutely go be the RB1 overall for all the reasons we know. CeeDee Lamb comes in at 9th overall. Gotta still respect him. He has to be respected. If you're not respecting him, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Lamb mainly and Barkley and Bowers are going to be very discounted in drafts. If you're quote unquote missing out on JSN, Amon-Ra, Jefferson, Lamb is right there with those guys still. It's just the facts. So these later picks in the first round are really good. You start your draft, Lamb Genty, Lamb HN, Lamb Chase Brown, Lamb Saquon. It's a really good start. Really good start. We move along now to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's coming in here at 8th overall. 3 straight top 3 wide receiver finishes. I don't like that Petzig is the new offensive coordinator. I really don't. I really dislike him. But again, Amon-Ra I think he led the league in drops last year. I mean, bro's probably been catching 10,000 balls a day since that moment. Not too worried. Jackson Smith-Njigba comes in here at 7th overall. A little bit of my RB bias coming into play, but yeah, it's just really just a matter of the guys ahead of him. I physically can't rank him any higher, and that has to do with Justin Jefferson. I'm taking Justin Jefferson over JSN this year. For sure. For sure. Justin Jefferson's 6th overall for me. You know, if you want to order these guys any which way you want, that's how tiers work, okay? Just reminding you guys, any which way you want to organize them, you are allowed. Kyler Murray is a better football NFL QB than Kirk Cousins. With Kirk Cousins, Jefferson was the best wide receiver of all time ever in NFL history through his first 4 years in the league. Last year, we literally had Max Brosmer and 2025 Carson Wentz and JJ McCarthy, who shouldn't be an NFL QB, throwing to him. He didn't have a good season. Crazy, right? Darnold comes in the year before that. He has a fine season. Jefferson, decent season. Dare I say, very good. A true wide receiver 1 season, just like he always has for 4 years before that, right? Or 3 years, whatever it is, okay? My point is, Kyler is way closer, if not better than, and I am on the better than side, than Sam Darnold when he was Jefferson's QB, and Kirk Cousins when he was Jefferson's QB. And Jefferson's going to elevate Kyler. I know, make the jokes, make the COD jokes, make the height jokes. I get it. They're funny. I laugh at them, but Jefferson will be very discounted. And then we have Christian McCaffrey 5th overall, purely out of respect. No running back has ever repeated as PPR RB1 overall, at least according to my calculations, for like 30 years. LT did not do it. Man, I think... Yeah, Priest Holmes, I don't know if Priest Holmes did it. Marshall Faulk, like those are the last guys who've done this. And I honestly don't even think they did. I think they did it in half PPR. PPR RB1 is very difficult to repeat, especially with his injury history at his age. Yeah, I mean, you're taking a massive risk. He's top 10 for me out of pure respect. He has to be there. Greatest PPR running back of all time. Now we get into our top 4. We'll sprint through these guys real quick. You know who the 4 players are. And this is the order I do like them. I am looking for Puka here. Where is Puka? There you are. Oh, hold on. Crap. I got him. I don't want to put him into yours. Okay. A clear top 4, Puka for me. I'm a little worried about the off-field issues. Like I don't want to make any like Antonio Brown jokes, but because it's honestly not funny. But it is. He's doing some questionable things off the field. I'll put it that way. So, But honestly, just from a fantasy perspective too, like genuinely, Matthew Stafford's not going to play forever. This time last year, none of us were drafting him. He goes and becomes the MVP. We suffer from recency bias because he's very old. He just won the MVP. And he is at risk for injury always at that age. So, yeah, a little risky, but again, not really. Puka could go be the best player in fantasy. Sorry to say anything different there for a second. Jamar comes in at wide receiver 1 overall for me. 3rd overall player on my board. Again, I just prefer, by the way, Jamar is the clear wide receiver 1 for me. If you want to do Puka, fine. But it's one of those two. Don't bring in JSN to this conversation. Don't do it. He had one good year. Do not do it. Puka had the greatest rookie season of all time for wide receivers. Jamar has a Burrow and can literally get 25 targets a game. Literally. In 4 games, he could have 100 total targets, Jamar Chase. He's the clear wide receiver 1 overall for me. And guys, my 2nd overall player is Bajan. I know you thought I was going to put him 1. He's my RB2 because Jahmyr Gibbs is my number 1 overall player and my RB1, because once we go over here to the tape and we look at Jahmyr Gibbs, again, shout out Dynasty, fellas, all these stats. Guys, let's just take a look at Jahmyr Gibbs. Oops, so we have Chrome. Okay, so hold on. We've crashed. Dynatize.com/football/tape. We're back. Okay. Looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, you guys know my most important metric among all players here, especially running backs, fantasy points per opportunity. We actually had Kenny Gainwell, okay, leading this. 1.11 last year, fantasy points per opportunity. Jahmyr Gibbs at 1.09. It's his 2nd straight year in the top 2. Ramadre's up there. RJ Harvey's H-Han is at 1. Only those 5 RBs over 1.0 fantasy point per opportunity. Fantasy points per touch, Jahmyr Gibbs right up there as well, 1.15. 2nd straight year and top 3. Okay? There is so much to love here about Jahmyr Gibbs. And what I really like, if I can make a scatter plot here, I believe I can. Perfect. Okay, check this out. So fantasy points per touch on one axis and targets on the other. Look at this scatter plot here. So what we see here, and again, we don't have to get too into the weeds here, but fantasy points per touch on the bottom axis and targets on the top. Okay, so these guys up here rely heavily, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, take note of that, rely heavily on targets and catches to score their fantasy points. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs is above this line, so technically sure, but not really. Guys we want to target are going to be right on this line. For example, Jonathan Taylor, there you are, right on this line. Great. Guys like RJ Harvey, who, if he got a few more targets, would be up here near McCaffrey and Achane, right? But I really want to compare these two guys, Bijan and Gibbs, because that's who we're talking about. Bijan relied a little more on these catches to feed his fantasy points, and Gibbs did not. Now we have no David Montgomery. I do think Pacheco is going to be annoying for sure, because, well, that's how it is. But Gibbs is my number one player. I want to try to export this. Let's see if it works. Yeah. Anyway, you'll probably see that on my Twitter later, but I'm going to show you the whole tier list here. Here you have it, guys. The top 30 for fantasy football rankings at this point in the middle of May. I'll read them to you 30-1. In tier C, positional ones: AJ Brown, Henry, Olave, Walker, Jacobs, Neighbors, Allen, Collins, Love, London, Hampton, Pickens. Tier B, at the round 1-2 turn: McBride, Brown, Rice, Achane, Genty, Cook, Bowers, and Barkley. We get into the top 10. Tier A: Taylor, Lamb, St. Brown, and Jigba, Jefferson, McCaffrey. And then your clear top 4, the S tier: Nakua, Chase, Robinson, and first overall is Gibbs. Peace.